Hello everyone, you're welcome to my class. My name is Daniel Agbaji. For this lesson presentation, I will be presenting on the topic Hypertext Librarians, how school librarians can present technology-oriented programming. This was the same topic that I treated at the KLA MPLA conference that was held on the 24th through the 26th of October 2018. So feel free and join me as I try to make you feel or have a feeling of what it feels like to be in a one-shot kind of presentation session that I did at the conference. So for this very presentation, it is my highest expectation that I'm going to be teaching school librarians how to brainstorm on topic to teach, topics that has to do with technology that they would like to teach. I will also be teaching you how to use standards and authoritative resources to guide the lesson plan that you're trying to come up with. Standards, are quite different based on the different states I believe you're coming from as a school librarian, but however, there are common standards. I'm going to be teaching you those very common standards. I'm going to show you how to implement the right teaching style that is appropriate for your lesson. How are you going to actually use, you've known the topic you really want to teach, you've known the lesson you want to teach the student, and you've come up with the actual lesson plan or the project that you want to implement during your library programming. But how do you go about teaching it? I'm going to show you how you can go about it. And I'm going to show you hands-on practically how you're going to use the right technology tools for the lesson that you want to teach. Then finally, we're going to wrap up the lesson by carrying out professional development goals. So stay with me. In a way to create a very interactive kind of session and to make you to get more involved and engaged during the course of this very session, I do believe that it's very pivotal to get a feedback from you, because I am meant to believe that you're all from different states as school librarians, and you have different ways of carrying out programming based on the school you're coming from. So getting the feedback from you, that it will go a long way to help every other school librarians that is actually here in this very session today. So for this very session, I have two activities, which I believe is going to be very helpful and significant to get you engaged and make you to be more, to communicate your thoughts, to communicate your experience with every other person in this very session. So there's two activities that I've mentioned. In each of them, you're going to be having 3 questions to answer. And based on those questions, when you're giving a feedback, you're going to see live the feedback that every other person is also given. So if you really want to give a feedback on those questions, there is a kind of a link. You can use a mobile phone. I am aware some of you didn't come with your laptops, you didn't come with any computer, but if you're with your mobile phone, you can actually go to the browser of your phone and you type this very URL, poeve.com/Daniel Agbaji 801, all the same word. Daniel Agbaji 801 is a single word. There is no space between the words. And then you'll be able to answer this very questions that are here in the first activity. Question number 1 says, what are the trending topics in the field of technology and information literacy that you are aware of? It is very important to state here that different schools actually have different topics that they treat their students when it comes to implementing technology in the classroom. So I really want to get us to give feedbacks on those different topics that we think are out there that we are aware of. And secondly, you're going to actually answer questions on what you think that your students would actually, what are the responses of your student based on the topics you have actually chosen, or based on the topics you've heard, or based on the topics you're aware of. Will your students be excited to learn about it? Will your patrons be excited to learn about it? That's the feedback I really want to get from you. Your answers are very important to help every other person to know what you think about those topics. And then thirdly, we're going to be knowing how best you can actually deliver those topics you've made mention of. So quickly, let us see the feedback that we have already gotten from with respect to the first question. Oh, you see. So we can see that there are a lot of topics that the school librarians, you, are aware of that are actually out there. You have credible sources and fake news as one of those topics that you're aware of. Coding of a truth, yeah, that's true. Digital citizenship, important. STEM, digital tools and digital citizenship, and then instructional design. Those are various topics that school librarians like yourself are aware that are actually out there and that are very important to teach students or patrons doing technology programming or carrying out any technology-oriented programming. Let's see the second question in this very activity. Let's see what other people think about it. Oh, the second questions, as I made mention of earlier on, is to verify if the patrons or the student that we're going to be teaching those very topics to are going to be excited. What is going to be their response? And here we see that the response are, yeah, they're going to be excited. A lot of people are going to be excited. A lot of students and patrons are going to be excited on to actually learn those very topics that the school librarians have selected. Let's go to the third question. The third question in this very activity is how best you think you can actually deliver the lesson or the topic you've actually selected. How best would you deliver it? And I can see there are a lot of responses over here. And as you can see, a lot of responses has to do with, majority of the respondents talked about hands-on kind of way of delivering the lesson, either to the teachers that they are collaborating with, the teachers they are trying to teach information literacy skills to, or the students they're actually teaching that very technology-oriented programming to. It's important that you have a hands-on kind of practical way to deliver that very lesson plan that you're trying to teach. And it's quite important because I think kids and students and in different educational level do learn easily whenever they have a view of what you're trying to teach them, have a specific understanding of it, to lay your hands on what you're teaching them practically. And it's important. And then you talk about fun also. Yeah, it's important to deliver your lesson, especially when you're teaching student. It's important for you to deliver the lessons with fun. Have game, crack some jokes, you know. It's one of the ways to keep them really engaged and feel excited while they're in the class. Else you're going to lose their attention and they'll be so crazy sometimes. You don't want to see students, you know, in middle school or elementary schools get crazy. Believe me, it's not a very good sight to see. You'll be like, is there a tsunami here in the class? Never mind. But yeah, using games and stuff like that, it's one of the ways to actually deliver your lesson that you're trying to teach them, either in a programming or in a class environment. Yeah, and then talk about, you know, make the topic you're trying to teach or the lesson very current. Very current in the sense, I would mean to believe that it should be something that is relevant to their environment. It should be something that they are a little bit acquainted to. They might not have a vast knowledge of that very lesson you're trying to teach them or the topic you've selected, but at least they should be able to relate to it. It should be something that is not far-fetched from their environment. It shouldn't be from the blue sky. It should be something very current. Issues that are not archaic, lessons that are actually ongoing. You know, it's quite important to teach them something that is still new, something that is relevant to the day or the, you know, contemporary period in which they are. And then you talk about, you know, creating small groups and students making choices about the project that they want. It's important to note here that sometimes students get more involved in the topics that they have actually selected, any project that I've actually selected, than what you came up with as a school librarian, even in programming. Sometimes they come over to you and they feel more involved and engaged in the lesson because you were able to carry them through the project process. You give them the opportunity to choose the project they really want to deliver. It's important also to create small groups that they can actually fix themselves into. They feel like they're always in charge, and you have to give them that very atmosphere to feel in charge. Let's go to Yeah. The next thing here is how to brainstorm on topics that you really want to teach. Sometimes you feel like, your head is in the cloud and you really don't have any idea of what specifically to actually teach the student. It is important to note here that there are many ways by which you can actually brainstorm on topics to teach. You have resources that are out there, vast majority of resources that are out there. But I just outline about 3 steps that I think are very relevant to you selecting or brainstorming or coming up with the right topic to teach. First, you need to understand and assess the level and interest of the student. Your students, have certain level of um, IQ, let me put it that way, or certain level of educational, um, you know, understanding about things that are happening around them. So your ability to actually assess their level, their grade level, if they're in the 3rd grade, in the 2nd grade, in the 5th grade, in the 4th grade, it's quite important to your topic selection. You don't want to choose a topic that is too advanced for their level. That's what I'm trying to say. And you don't want to choose a topic that um, is too less than their level. It's quite important for you to choose a topic that fit into their grade level, and then you have to make sure that the topic is actually in line with their interest. And how do you do that? You can do this by actually having them choose the various topics that you want to treat. You can come up with pools of topics and then give them the opportunity to choose whatever topic they're actually going to be interested to learn. And then secondly, you build on the students already gained knowledge. It's quite important. I think I cannot emphasize on this too much. It is important for you to know that students don't want to be left in the blank. Like they don't want to have themselves go into certain stress by not fully understanding where the topic's coming from. I do understand that technology-oriented programming and certain aspects of technology lessons could be a little bit advanced. However, as a school librarian, it's quite important for you to connect that very topic you're trying to teach to previous topics that are related. Let's say you want to teach coding. Okay, you want to teach coding, which is fine. It's one of the topics we actually just made mention of that is out there that is quite relevant. You want to teach coding. What is that very topic in technology that is somehow related to coding, but has a lesser kind of connection to coding? I would say one of it could be the can I say sitting games that play, like puzzling games, spelling bees that I play. You can actually use that to relate what coding is. I believe a lot of students love spelling bees, how to bring different letters together to make a word. It's quite important for you to make them to understand that this is part of coding, bringing things together to actually carry out or come up with kind of an expectation as part of coding. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is you need to build on students already gained knowledge. It shouldn't be something out of the blue sky. Thirdly, you need to research on the selected topics to redefine the topic that you have selected, especially when you've given the opportunity to your student to select whatever topic they really want you to teach them. It is important for you to go back and make relevant research. And here, I've come up with a list of great places that you can actually look for topics and redefine, the topic you've actually selected, or even get more authoritative resources to back up whatever topic you've selected. One of it is the American Association of School Librarians, which I think has proven to be very, very resourceful when it comes to topic selection and all that. Yeah, so here we go again. We're going to take in the second activity. As I've made mention of, each activity contains 3 questions. And your feedback could be actually given for everyone in the class to see by connecting via the URL I've earlier given, which is poeve.com/Daniel Agbaji 801. So you can use that, you connect with your browser, either on your mobile phone or your laptop. I'm aware some of you are not with your laptop here in the class, no problem. You can use your mobile device. The first question is, what subject or classes would you or your fellow teachers, if you are a teaching librarian, need more of technology integration? I've come to realize that a lot of school librarians collaborate with other teachers to carry out, the teaching of or a lesson in a particular subject. So I really want to know what you think about, those subjects. What kind of subject will really require technology-oriented programming? Secondly, we're going to look at if you are actually helping, in this case, collaborating with the teacher to teach a subject. What is your best approach of showing them how to make use of the necessary technology for these classes? Where I'm aware that some of the school librarians do teach sitting subjects with other teachers in the school, aside their major work as a media specialist or as an information literacy skill teacher. They also do have a way to collaborate with other teachers to teach the subject that, to help teach the subject that a teacher is actually teaching in the class. So I want to know what you think. How are you going to really help the teacher to, come up with the right knowledge in order for such teacher to teach, with technology in the class setting? How are you going to do that? And then the third question is, do you have a means to evaluate or follow up your co-teachers' performances while taking them on information literacy skills? It is quite important to know that in order for you to have an efficient result or an appreciable kind of outcome while you're collaborating with other teachers and teaching them information literacy skills or helping them to integrate technology into their classroom or their lesson or any kind of programming in the library, it is important to know that it's important to find out a way to evaluate their skills. You don't just want to teach them and sit back. You want to teach them and know how well they have been able to come up with whatever you've taught them, how well they are performing in whatever you've actually given them. So let's see the responses that school librarians have given so far in all the three questions that I've just read out. Wow, as you can see, the first question actually talked about social studies, mathematics. Wow, what am I seeing there? Is that chickens? Oh, that's just a joke, okay? So we can see there are three major subjects that school librarians do believe are quite important to integrate technology while teaching them. So you have PBL, you have social studies, you have mathematics. That's incredible. And I think in a way you can actually integrate technology in all the classes also. It's not just within those three major classes that have been mentioned here by the school librarians who actually gave their feedbacks. And then the second question, the answers are that we can actually, as school librarians, you can collaborate with your co-teachers and you can help them, integrate technology in their classes by demonstrating whatever you're trying to teach them. So demonstration is one of it, to actually help them to learn or to use technology in their classes. You can make it something they can relate to. It's quite important to know that not everyone like theory, they like having a hands-on experience on what you're teaching them. So it's quite important for you to use that very delivery, a means of delivering your lesson to your co-teachers. And then we got a feedback about immersion. Immersion is quite important. You want to place them in the very place, you want to put your teacher, your co-teacher in the very place or in the very position that they would have to make use of the technology right before you while you're teaching them. So maybe after you're done showing how it works, you can back out a little bit and let them to be part of it. If you're teaching them how to use VR in your classes or AR, you want to let them to be part of it. You want to let them to use it. You want to let them to have a hands-on experience. That's what immersion is all about. You can do it when you teach, lead by example. So you can also teach your co-teachers how to use technology in their lessons or in their classroom when you also start using technology while teaching your information literacy skills or while carrying out programming in the library or in the school. Yeah, meeting one-on-one is one of it. I know sometimes you really want to do a lot by carrying out a one-shot kind of experience. And by that, I mean having all the teachers come together in one setting in a session and then you teach them. But sometimes some teachers prefer that you have their own time. You know, you just meet with them one-on-one and then you teach them how to actually make use of it. That way they won't feel shy to ask you some questions that I might think is stupid, but there is no question that is stupid. Let's go to the second question in the second activity, the third question rather, and then let's get the feedback. Oh, here we can see a lot of feedbacks here when it comes to if school librarians do evaluate or find out a way to evaluate the performances of the teachers that they are co-teaching with, or the teachers they are trying to teach how to use technology in their classes. And it's quite amazing to know that most of the school librarians, their feedbacks are that they don't do this. And sometimes they don't do this directly. It's quite indirectly. I know how it feels when you are in a position to assess your fellow teachers, but it's quite important. It is relevant to know that you doing this is going to help them. Not just you, it's going to help them to improve their performances in using technology while teaching. Now, quickly, how you can actually help your fellow teachers to use technology. There's a kind of a process you can follow. First, you need to understand the goals and objectives of the teacher's lesson. So if you really want to help your teacher or other teachers in the school where you're teaching as a school librarian to integrate technology in their lessons, you need to understand the objective of the lessons they are trying to come up with. So understanding the objective of that very lesson will give you an idea of the kind of technology that will be needed to carry out that very lesson effectively, and then guide them through the standards. It is very important for you to know that not a lot of teachers are aware of the various standards that are out there. So you can help them guide them through the standards that are related to the topic they really want to teach, with respect to the grade level of the student they really want to teach. And you can use the lesson's core performance skills with the help of the standards that have been listed here. Recommend to them the technology tools needed for the class. So when you have come up with the core performance skills that they really want to achieve from the student, you can then connect the various skills with the various standards that are actually obtainable out there. One of the standards that I really love, that I think it's kind of a common core standard, is the International Society for Technology in Education. So any school, anywhere on earth can actually make use of this, because it's actually put into consideration the different kind of environment where people find themselves. It's kind of an international standard for schools to integrate technology while teaching. And the prominent one that everyone is quite acquainted with is the American Association of School Librarians. You can actually use this this very standard to figure out a way to help the teacher you're trying to teach how to use technology in their classes, to guide the lesson plan that they actually come up with. And then you have the Association of Colleges and Research Librarians. It's one of it. Even though it doesn't talk about school librarians, I think it's kind of a research tool in order for you to get authoritative resources that could guide your class or your lesson. Here are various topics that I came up with that are quite, out there, that a lot of school librarians have actually made use of. And some of it's quite amazing to know how much students can actually learn from it. And it depends on the level also, as I've made mention of, the grade level of your student. It depends also on the previous topics or you've treated before, finding a way to connect it together to make sure that you're having your student go through. You're not getting them lost. You're having them go through the various stages of lesson you want to teach. So you can see a lot of topics out there that are actually obtainable that you can actually teach while carrying out technology-oriented programming, like digital citizenship. Digital citizenship is one of it. You talk about student-centered learning. You talk about artificial intelligence or learner profiles. You talk about when you're a victim, examples of fair use. You talk about examples of fair use, protecting your privacy, and stuff like that. Those are various topics that you can actually teach your student. AR, VR, and mixed reality are all various topics you can teach your student. Now, there are many reasons why you need to use standards in teaching, especially when you want to integrate technology in programming or even in a lesson or in a project. You want to make sure you use standards because they provide a well-defined pattern to guide your lesson or project. It's kind of a way to guide what you're trying to teach them. So you don't just teach them because you want to teach them. You want to teach them because there is a guidance, there is a guide, that is prepared for you or that is available for you to use. You want to give, it gives, teachers clues to what activity is best for the students with respect to the lesson or class level. Yeah, it actually gives you an idea of the kind of activities that you can use while teaching your student. So you're not going to use something very complex for a grade level that will not be able to assimilate what you're trying to teach. You want to use certain activities that I can actually connect to, that is easy for them to do. Let's say you want to code and you want to teach a grade 5 student how to code. You don't want to use NetBeans, IDE, the integrated development environment, or teach them Java or stuff like that. That's not going to work. That activity is not going to work for their own level. When you're talking about college level, that is possible. But for their level, you want to go down a little bit. You want to talk about using Scratch, to teach coding, which literally involves you just bringing different codes together and the student merge them together using their computer, and then it carry out the function of whatever code they have merged together. It's just more like Lego, putting different Legos together to work out something. So you also need to know that using standards helps you, the teacher, your students, and even the parents or guardians of those students to get to know all the acceptable policies, practices, and learning or teaching culture for a lesson or a class. It's important to know that. Guardians really want to be carried along on what their children are learning. Parents want to be aware of what their children are learning. They really want to know, what are you teaching them? And one of the ways to show them is by providing the standards or using the right standards to guide your class or your lesson. Here are the various standards I've earlier mentioned. You have the American Association of School Librarians, which provides relevant tools and resources that could actually guide your topic selection and even guide your technology use. And then you have the Kansas Department of Education. It provides different standards for the Kansas state of Kansas, which I think a lot of people have been well acquainted with. It also has common core standards that could also be used in different states as well. And then you have the International Society for Technology and Education, as I've earlier mentioned. Yeah, the American Association of School Librarians, the standards provided by them, it's more than you can actually think. As you can see here in the chart, it has different performance skills level that it actually assessed with different domains. This is more like giving you an idea of the different outcomes that you should be expecting when you take a topic. Like if you want your student to explore, there are different activities that you're going to be using, to make sure that you give the opportunity to the student to explore in that very lesson you're trying to teach them. Because when you do exploration is to, give them the ability to grow or to share their resources with others. It's quite important for you to get your hands on these very standards and be more acquainted with it. Yeah, so you use standards to guide a lesson plan, as I've said. Sometimes when you're teaching certain topics or certain lesson while using technology, it's quite important for you to use different standards. You can use multiple standards. You can use like 2 standards. You can use the American Association of School Librarian standards, and you can use the KS standards together. But make sure that whatever performance skills you're trying to assess or whatever objective you're trying to assess is quite the same. So let's talk about you're trying to do exploration as an activity in that very lesson you're trying to teach for a particular grade level. You want to make sure that that grade level that you're trying to teach has a similar kind of activity based on the standards. So if you're taking a kind of an activity from the ASL standards, you also want to make sure that it's in correlation with the KS Library and Information Technology standards. How do you implement, what is the right way to implement your lesson or to teach your lesson? From research that I've done based on the resources in the ASL website, I've come up with different ways by which you can actually implement your lesson, your technology-oriented lesson while doing programming. You can do it as a facilitator. You know, it involves teaching, you know, librarians, you know, just guide the student or your patrons through the process of the lesson. You don't need to be so much involved in it. You're just there to help them to, you know, go through the lesson. And then you can teach in a kind of a group style. You know, it mostly involves carrying out activities that involves teamwork. So this is mostly used in a kind of a computer lab setting. So you can actually group the students into different teams, and then it becomes very competitive. You can tell them their grades are going to be, you know, placed on the board, and people are going to know what this very theme has, this team has gotten. It makes them to sit up. It gives them the opportunity to, you know, throw themselves some kind of, you know, can I say, intellectual blows on the other team. And then it's, you can actually teach using a kind of a hybrid means. By hybrid, I means merging one or two or three, other styles of teaching. But it involves you understanding your own style of teaching and their own styles of teaching, and bringing it together in such a way that will help, you know, the smooth running of the lesson that you want to teach. But however, whatever kind of style you want to use that I've mentioned here, you want to make sure that it's learner-centered. It should be based on what the, you know, what the learners need to learn. It should be something that is going to help the learners to be more acquainted. You should be more focused on the learner's perspective, or more concerned about the learner's learning than the lesson you really want to teach. Okay, so you also want to make sure you're using the right tools for the right lesson. There are different tools that are out there, different technology tools, but they are actually categorized into these very three that I'm trying to show you. So you have the LMS. LMS is what they call the learning management system. An example of it that I'm going to show you during this very session is called the Google Classroom. The Google Classroom is a free learning management system provided by Google, and it helps to create an online class where you can carry out publishing of assignments. You can also, you know, connect guardians with their kids, you know, to know what the kids are actually getting in the class. You can do everything that you can actually do in a classroom or in a normal kind of learning management system. You can create activities for the student to do. You can carry out survey. You can carry out examination. You can, it's so wonderful to know that this is free. And the only thing you need to do is to get a Google kind of Gmail account, and your student have to get a Google Gmail account. I'm going to talk more about that. So you have different LMS, Blackboard is one of them, and the rest of them. So you have devices also. You want to make sure that you have the right device that you're going to be using in teaching that very technology-oriented programming. So let's say you want to teach about how to use, let's say, how to make use of your Scratch application in coding. You want to know, you want to make sure that they are actually on a computer, not on a mobile device or on a tablet or an iPad. You want to make sure that they have access to an actual computer, because the Scratch tool is not, it's kind of a very heavy software. It might not load very well in a mobile device. I don't think they have a mobile version yet. So it's quite important for you to know the kind of device that is appropriate for the technology-oriented class or programming you want to teach. And then you have applications. There are a lot and tons of applications out there, software that you can actually use in carrying out a technology-oriented programming. And we're going to talk about some of them. And then make sure that all these tools that you're using are learner-centered. They are geared towards the learner. You're not trying to just come up with those tools because you feel like they are cool. You should put into consideration the level of your students or your patrons that you really want to teach. If they are going to be, if they are going to be comfortable learning via that very tool that you're trying to select. So it's quite important to place them into perspective. So quickly, I'm going to give you examples of free technologies that you can actually use. They're out there, just waiting for you to get in touch with them and make use of it. It's quite important to know that there are a lot of tools, technology tools you can use that are quite free. You don't need to buy most of them. And some of them you have to use them for free for a period of time, and then you need to pay for the license. However, I think you can virtually look for anything that is free that you need to use for your class. So one of it is called the Edpuzzle. Now the Edpuzzle can help you to create a flipped class from already made videos. You don't even need to make any video if you don't have any. Some of those videos are available on YouTube. So what Edpuzzle does is, when you create an account, I'm going to show you in a short while from now, Edpuzzle lets you to select a particular topic that you really want to treat. What subject are you more concerned about? And then you can select the subject that you want to teach. And then from there, Edpuzzle kind of figure out a way to pull out different videos, different resources that could actually guide you to present a flipped class, And the only thing you need to do is just to edit some of those stuffs, like figure out a way to put your words out there. It engages students in answering questions while watching a lesson or tutorial. Now in Edpuzzle, the video tutorial or the video lesson has a way you can actually create sitting questions on when you're actually done with a particular scene during the course of the video presentation or the flip class. You can actually attach sitting questions. And you can make it in such a way that students will have to answer those questions before moving to the next lesson or before even continuing, that very video that they're actually watching. You can evaluate student performance using Edpuzzle. It's quite important. You can imagine that, because as the moment a student answered the questions you have given that is actually connected to the video, you get the answers on your own dashboard. It's just amazing. So can you imagine that? It's so amazing. And one of the most amazing thing about it is that it's integrated to your lesson in Google Classroom. It has a way to actually integrate it to your lesson in Google Classroom. You don't need to do so much. You just need to export it into your Google Classroom and you'll be fine. And as I've earlier mentioned, the other one is the Google Classroom, and there are many more tools in Google that you can actually use. You have a lot of tons and tons and tons of tools you can use. You have the Google Document, you have the Google Spreadsheet, you have the Google Slide. Just name them. It's so wonderful to know that those tools are free and you can use them. Google Classroom helps you to organize your materials for your programming. So whatever programming you want to do that is technology oriented, you can use Google Classroom to actually organize it. Google Classroom has a way by default to create a folder for your class in your Google Drive. So let's say you want to access the materials you have actually uploaded on your Google Classroom without necessarily going into that very, that very classroom. You can just go to your drive, your Google Drive, and you get them. The pictures, the PDF files, and documents, and even questions also and answers. It's so important. It's just so wonderful. You can use it as an unofficial LMS for the programming. I am aware that in most schools, they have a default LMS system used to carry out, their lessons. However, you can just use this as a kind of an unofficial tool to teach your student. However, you must know that certain schools have certain policies that you don't want to go against, okay? And then it helps to evaluate student performances. Oh my goodness, and this is the amazing part of it. You can even try to tweak the scoring level that you want to use. You can use a percentage, you can use the normal scoring of 100 or over 10 or over 5 and stuff like that. You can give instant feedback to students or teachers and guardians. Just like I said, Google Classroom gives you the opportunity of actually connecting the guardians or the parents of your students, to their resources. So you can give them the opportunity to see how many classes that their children are actually missing. You can give them an update of the performances of their students, their children, which is so amazing. And you can also connect other teachers. So let's say you're collaborating with other teachers to teach a subject. You can actually bring them into the Google Classroom to carry out the necessary things that a teacher would need to do in a class. The other two is Peer Deck. Oh my goodness, I love Peer Deck. Peer Deck is so amazing. It is. Oh, you don't just want to miss it. Please give it a try. You're going to love it. Peer Deck has different resources you can use for different kind of lesson you want to teach. You can engage your patrons or students in an interactive way using Google Slide. Oh, it's so amazing. You see, and that's the reason why I love Google applications. It has a way to integrate itself to other applications. Let's say you want to present a Google Slide, okay, to your student, but you want them to be so engaged, okay? You want them to answer questions while they're actually carrying out the slide. You want them to draw on the slide and give you a feedback. You can do this. So you don't need to trouble yourself about maybe creating a different kind of session for a question for them to answer. While you're actually playing the slide, they're answering the questions that are attached to the slide. That is so amazing. You can use these to carry out different programming. Like, let's say you have a first-time user in a library, or you have a kind of a programming to teach students how to draw, let's say, or an art teacher really want to teach students how to select the different artwork they have actually done that is kind of appropriate for whatever they're teaching them. This is amazing. You can just put this work on a slide and play it, and the student will have to decide which one is right, and then they get instant feedback. I'm telling you, it's so beautiful. You can gather feedback on the go from the student. It's amazing. You want to give Peer Deck a try, and then evaluate student performance of the lesson taught. It's an instant evaluation you can actually do. The other one is the Pizzaton Comics. Pizzaton Comics helps you to create a flip class from already made videos also, and all that. Thank you. So this is Edpuzzle. Edpuzzle, as you can see, has a very common user-friendly interface. It's not very difficult. As I've earlier mentioned of, you can select after creating or registering with Edpuzzle. It actually takes you through different process of registration. And then you need to select the topic or the subject you really want to teach. And then by that, select the very topic you want to teach them. As you can see over here, you can see that I've already selected a kind of a topic I want to teach my student, which is digital citizenship. And here is a video. And as you can see, there are different ways of actually, interacting with that very video. I can share this assignment to my student. I can reset all the answers, to the questions that I've actually provided. I can actually export the result of the answers they are giving, and I can delete the assignment if I want to. As you can see, this is more like my dashboard on the Edpuzzle. It shows that this is my class. As you can see, here it gives you a kind of a code that you can give to your student to connect to that very lesson. So with this very code, the student would have to place it in their own Edpuzzle account, and then they'll be able to connect to this very class or the resources in that very class that you've provided. And then they can join, just like I said, they can join a class. When I click join a class, this is the code you're going to be using, the GUPO gels. The code is just right beneath the My Classes. And then the third thing is, this is your dashboard. This is everything. This is the assignment. They're also going to see this if you give them the permission to do so. Yes, and as you can see, there is a score already. So let's say your students already went through the video and they answered all the questions that are out there attached to the video. You're going to get something like this. So you can see there's a student name called Agbaji Daniel, and he answered 50. He answered some questions. He already watched the video. He finished watching it, and the answers he gave, it was graded 50 over 100. And the time he spent, you can imagine, you can even see the time that the student spent while watching and answering the question, 18 minutes ago. And then on the time, you can turn on the time and something like that. So this is it. And then for Google Classroom, as I've mentioned of, when you create an account with Google or you have a Gmail account already, you only need to type classroom.google.com, and then automatically it's going to pull up this very interface that you're seeing here. And then you can, on this very plus sign, you can click on it, and then you can either join a class, which should be something you should tell your student to do, or you can create a class as a teacher. When a student actually click on join a class, there is a code you're going to give to them that they are meant to use, and then they'll be able to join the class. Or you can create a class and then add them or add the students. You can also add teachers and guardians, as I've earlier mentioned of. So you can see this is the interface of my Google Classroom that I created. Here you see at the top, there's a tab here that contains stream, like all the various, resources that you have actually shared with your students. This is where you're going to see them. And then you have classwork, like assignments you're giving to the student. And then you have people like the various students in the class, including the teachers and also the guardians that you've actually added. Now let's go to Peer Deck. As I've said, Peer Deck is so amazing. Now, when you're creating an account, Peer Deck gives you different categories you can actually select from. So you have teacher, you have school student, you have more selections like educational selections and stuff like that. As a teacher, you have to select this, and then you go through the registration process. It might ask you of your school district, and then you give it to it. If you don't find your school district in the drop-down menu, you can select, type the name of your school district and continue from there. It's important to note here that Peer Deck, though it has a kind of a free version, if you can buy the licensed version, it's going to do you very good, a lot of good. And then the other one I want to talk about is a Pixton. Well, you can call it Pixton. Pixton actually helps you to create cartoons. So let's say you want to engage your students to learn a kind of information literacy skill, but you want them to learn with fun, or you want them to give you feedback also via the use of fun. You can do this with this. You already have pre-prepared, can I say, or already made cartoons or different kind of pictures and images and words already for you, based on the subject you want to teach them. So it's not just about information literacy skills. It's not just about technology alone. So let's say you're collaborating with a math teacher, and he or she want to use these. You can give him this very tool, this technology, Pixton. He or she can create cartoons, or give the opportunity to the student to create cartoons to give as a way of actually answering the questions that he has actually provided, even in the format of cartoon. Here you can see the topic that I've selected is validity of sources. That's the topic I want to actually teach the student. And you can see this very cartoon that was already provided. I don't even need to do anything. The only thing I think I need to do, if I want to, is to change the words. And you can actually do that on Pixton. It provides you the opportunity to change everything you're seeing there, all the character you're seeing there, all the features you're seeing there. You can actually change it. It gives you the ability to be in charge of the resources that's there for you. Now, in conclusion, because of time, I want you to know that in order for you to carry out technology-oriented programming in schools as librarians, it's easy, it's not difficult, it's very convenient to do. And the only thing you need to do is to get the right resources that are out there and how to use them. And then you need to actually understand the condition under which you need to teach your students. When I mean the condition, I mean you need to put the student into perspective and make sure that your lesson is going to be learner-centered. And then you do that by actually assessing their grade level and their interest. And yeah, during the topic selection, as I've made mention of, you have to carry them along. Also, it is very easier when school librarians get to understand the various acceptable standards within their jurisdiction. Now, finally, I want you to know that it's important for you to carry out professional development, and you can evaluate yourself based on what you've learned so far, how good you're doing, your level of skills acquisition. Just sit down and think about it. What are the things you want to achieve in the future based on what you're teaching, based on your career, your career presently? Were you able to actually, get your student to learn what they need to learn? Was the goal of that very lesson achieved at the end of the day? And also you want to help your other teachers to carry out professional development evaluation. You can actually get the resources for this very lesson in this very via this very URL that I've given. So all the resources to this very lesson you can get there. So you just type on your browser bit.ly/Daniel Agbaji, as you can see here in the slide. Thank you very much for having me teach this very class. It's been really beautiful, and I hope to get positive feedback from you. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.